already signed Sculati.
You need to come be on camera and acknowledge that you're being recorded today. Acknowledge that you're being recorded.
Today's call will be recorded and posted in our Costa Go for sales reps that cannot make it today.
Good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good morning and welcome to a webinar training from Tampa Made Foods. The National Client Manager is Tom Smith. This call will be approximately 2 hours long with an opportunity for questions at the end of the presentation. For the question and answer portion of the call, we will be taking questions using the Q&A feature, which you can find along the bottom of your screen. You may submit a question at any time. However, all questions will be read at the end of the presentation. Please do not send any questions through chat. They will not be included. And now I will turn the call over to Tom Smith. Tom, you may begin.
Thank you, Beth, and thank you everyone for attending the training today. This is exciting. We have 10 new Acosta markets starting representation with Tampa Made Foods effective this week, and then 2 additional markets that'll be starting representation on February 1st. And all of those markets and team members are on this call today. We also have a host of Tampa Made Food sales staff on the call today as well. So thank you everyone for attending. It's a great opportunity for Acosta, great opportunity for Tampa Made Foods. And I just want to, have a big thank you go out to the Tampa Made Foods team for the opportunity to expand with them. And with that, this will be the start of that relationship in these new markets. And I'm going to turn it over to Michelle McGilray, Director of Food Service Sales for Tampa Made Foods. She's got a few comments, and then we will get into the training. Michelle?
Hi, all. Happy New Year. Yes, as Tom said, we are all excited about what's ahead for 2021. We have a great Tampa Made team. Many of them are on the call today with us, led by our corporate trainer, Mike Sculati there. And now we have an even stronger partnership with Acosta, and we continue to see that move forward, as Tom mentioned. I can't thank you all enough for what you did at 2020. You kept us, top of mind. You moved the needle where we needed you to, and you helped us get through some of these rough months. And because of that, we were able to move forward and grow together in 2021. So I know you've seen a lot of the new stuff that's the broker incentives and all that good stuff that's coming out. And we're going to continue to do that and work together. So thank you again for what you did in 2020, and let's grow in 2021. With that, I want to introduce Mike Sculati. He is our corporate trainer. He does a fantastic job. He is going to be your go-to for all training needs in going forward. And you'll see he does, he's got great wealth of knowledge on the category as a whole, the industry, and super passionate about it. And we can't thank him enough for what he gives back to Tampa Made. So Mike, it's all yours, buddy.
Hey, thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. Good morning, everybody. Got to tell you, very excited about being here. A couple quick little caveats before I start. Some of you may have seen little bits and pieces of this before. I apologize, I don't mean to bore you, but we're going to incorporate it into a much bigger picture. The second thing is there may be a little tad or two here and there that might not seem as relevant under the COVID restrictions that we are all dealing with right now. However, I'm going to go ahead and proceed in some of those areas that we will be back to normal at some point mid-late year. So I'm going to incorporate those pieces as if we were back to normal, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and get started here because I've got a lot to cover. The sooner I get through it, the sooner you're done and you can move on to other things, okay? I'm going to tell you a little bit about Tampa Made for those of you that don't know. Tampa Made is a privately held family company located in Lakeland, Florida. We actually used to be in Tampa, hence the name Tampa Made, but where the facility used to be is now under part of the Tampa Airport. When the government wants to put an airport up, your facility is going to go. So we are located in Lakeland, Florida. We are the last privately held family company doing full line breaded shrimp based in the United States. We're it. Almost all of our major competitors are owned by foreign concerns. So we're it. We're a privately held family company. Now, I've been very, very fortunate. I've been with Tampa Made for 15 years. Love it. Blessed to have been here for a number of reasons. And one of the great things that's very enjoyable about this company is this is singularly the most broker-friendly company I have ever worked for. Because Tampa Made is still, in some respects, a dinosaur in that aspect. They understand and know that without you folks, we don't go anywhere. You're the key to making everything happen out there. And that's evidenced by, for example, the broker promotion. And this is a broker sales rep promotion that's done for the entire year. There's two portions of this. One is the golden ticket, where on 8 items, on new cases, we're going to pay you $10 a case incentive. The other part is called the good stuff. It's a large number of our quality seafood items and our Harvest Creation vegetable items that once on new cases, you're going to get $5 a case all year. And this is paid quarterly. And I have to tell you, over the years that we've been doing this, I have seen broker sales reps make thousands, I mean literally thousands of dollars. Now, the way it works is it's by market. So I'm going to say state. So by state, there is an aggregate total of what was sold last year. It's not by item, because if it were by item, that can go up and down. A customer can drop off. We don't want to do that to you. So it's by total, aggregate total. Once that total is reached, then the payments start. So if we hit some big accounts early, we generate some things in the golden ticket area, you know, after the first quarter, maybe second, third, fourth quarter, you make some really serious dollars because it is paid quarterly. Now, how Tampa Made pays it, we pay Acosta by market. Then the market managers break it down as to how it goes out to you. However, almost all of it's paid out to you. A little may come off the top to cover taxes, whatever, however Acosta handles that. But there's nobody in the business today that pays broker sales reps all year on this many items at that high a category. At $10 a case and $5 a case, you can make some serious money. Now, we back that up. For example, we have our land and sea promotion going on right now that's running through the whole first quarter through April 15th for our distributors. And there are significant dollars on a number of items that are part of your promotion. So we're backing it up with that. All of our products are in DOT. We have operator coupons on almost all of these items at $5 a case. We've got POS. We're great on sampling. We have the whole package of support for you, so you can go out and have a great time selling the product and make some money at the same time. So Tampa Made is seriously the most broker-friendly company that I've ever worked for. It's a real pleasure and a real joy to be involved with that. So I'm hoping everybody can go out and have a great time in 2021, and you can make some serious money as well, okay? Now, I'll tell you a little bit about me, and I've got a reason for that. It's almost hard to say the numbers. I have been in the food service business for over half a century. 51 plus years I've been in the food service business. I started at a burger chef in Dublin, Georgia, making $1 an hour. And if you worked 3 hours, they only paid you for 2.5 because they figured you were drinking Coke and eating French fries. Well, you can't do that today, but somehow I stayed in the business. And within the restaurant business, I've done pretty much everything you can do. Now I'm talking pretty much casual restaurant, fast food, that kind of thing. I've done a little white tablecloth, but not a ton. But within the restaurant, I've done everything you can do except for two things. I've never owned a restaurant. I still think about it now and again, even though I know better. And I've never been an executive chef. I don't have the training background or ability to be a chef. But outside of that, I've pretty much done everything you can do. For about 35 years, I've been doing this, working as a rep for various companies. And over those 35 years, at one time or another, I've sold frozen, dry, refrigerated, center of the plate, side dish, you name it, I've sold it. Over those 35 years, at one time or another, I've covered the whole country, except for the pure Northeast. I've never really worked the New York, New England market, but I have covered Canada for a couple of companies. The reason I bring all this up is to give you an idea that I've got a pretty strong background in the food service business. And I have to tell you, I've never seen anything more challenging in the business than what I've seen over the past decade, COVID aside. The business has changed, and it all started with the recession of 2009 and 2010. Prior to that point, it's a great time to be in the food service business. People were going out to eat 4 or 5 times a week. It was a matter of course that they would go out to eat. Restaurants were springing up everywhere. You got double-digit drug growth just walking out the door. I mean, it was fabulous. It was great. And then the recession hit, and that all stopped. And there's been some fundamental changes since that time. In 2011, I read an article about the food service business that was dead on then, and it's dead on now. And the basis behind this article was, and it's something we need to all understand, we have entered a new norm. And what people found out during the recession was they can cook at home, and they can do a pretty good job. And that's expanded. I mean, look, you've got websites everywhere. You got the Food Channel. You got the Cooking Network. You've got celebrity chefs. You got recipes everywhere. You've got home delivery services everywhere. People have learned that they can cook at home. And that has been a major fundamental shift and change in what's going on in the business. Now, that article was written in 2011. What's happened since then? Just going to kind of pick a couple little things here. In 2014, Restaurant Hospitality put out an article that said customer counts to restaurants had dropped 2% a year since the recession. 2017, USA Today, business section, big article. Headline of the article was, "People Cooking at Home Impact Brinkers." And I read the whole article, I actually cut it out and saved it. And what the article said was, because people were cooking at home, during the fourth quarter of 2016, Brinkers had been hammered. Their business was down 4%, okay? 2018, people going bankrupt everywhere, chains going bankrupt. 2019, same thing. Houlihan's went bankrupt. Granite City went bankrupt. Steak and Shake announced that they had 3 straight years of declining sales. They shut down 100 units. Boston Market shut down 10% of their units. And in September of 2019, Nation's Restaurant News came out with an article. And in this article, it said, the stark reality is the average restaurant has seen dwindling customer count every year since the recession. So that was 2019. Then we come into 2020, January, February of 2020. Crystal, 360 units, bankrupt. Baker Square Village Inn, bankrupt. Bar Louie, bankrupt. Big article in Nation's Restaurant News about Yum Brand saying they are urgently working to fix Pizza Hut. 400 units shut down for Pizza Hut. Then there was another article from Nation's Restaurant News about 2019. Average customer visits dropped 3.9% in 2019 over 2018. And at the end of the article, it said, restaurants are being crippled by declining traffic. and then COVID hit in March. Nation's Restaurant News had an article a couple of weeks ago that said since COVID started, 17% of the restaurants in the United States have shut down. Those remaining in business, 86% said they had seen a 36% drop in revenue the last 3 months, and they expect it to get worse the next 3 months. We're in a tough world, folks. We're in a changing world, but all is not doom and gloom. And what does this mean for us? What does this mean for you? What this means for you is this means opportunity for you. You are the most important people in the room. If you were here, I'd be saying that you're the most important people in the room. You're the ones to help our independent operators, our LLOs, our CVAs, whatever you want to call them. You're the ones that have to get them the information and help them survive what's going on today. They need help. You're the experts. And you are with a great company to make that happen. You got great lines. The way you're lined up, the way you're set up is superb. You're in great shape. You're in a wonderful position to really lay the groundwork to be very effective with these people that need your help. Where does breaded shrimp fit in? How does breaded shrimp fit in with all of this? Well, it's interesting. In the United States, the #1 selling seafood is shrimp. Nothing else is even close. Tuna and salmon are numbers 2 and 3. It depends on the time of the year, which is second and third. You have to put them together to equal the per capita consumption of shrimp in the United States. Now, what's the #1 way shrimp is served in the United States? Fried breaded shrimp. Number 2, crispy, which is a fancy way of saying fried for those people that are worried about fried. Number 3 doesn't count because it's not fried, but numbers 4, 5, and 6 are breaded, battered, and tempura, which all have to be fried. So 5 of the top 6 ways the #1 selling seafood item is sold in the United States is fried breaded shrimp. Now there's something else that goes along with that. Prior to COVID, and before the recession in 2010, we had set a record. People had spent 51.5% of their food dollars eating out. The last year that we have full numbers for, people spent 44% of their food dollars eating out. This was pre-COVID. That's a staggering drop when you think of that. That's over 7 points, the billions of dollars that involves. But there's one area where that's different, and that's seafood. 75% of the dollars that people spend eating seafood are spent eating out. They don't want to handle seafood. They don't know how to handle seafood, and people don't have fryers at home. And that's important. We'll get to that shortly. So when you think about fried breaded shrimp, it's the #1 selling seafood item out there. It's the #1 way it's served, and 75% of the dollars people spend on eating seafood are spent eating out. So that all kind of comes together and works that way. Now, I told you I've been in the business a very long time. I think I might have been here at the dawn of food shows. I may have worked the very first food show. I don't know. I can remember standing behind a booth, coat, tie, dress pants, dress shoes, and when it was slow, smoking a cigarette behind the booth. It's a true story. I used to go through half a pack on a slow day. Well, some things have changed. You don't have to wear suits at shows anymore. You can't smoke at shows anymore. I don't smoke anymore anyway. And there's no open bars at shows, which there used to be. One thing that hasn't changed is the fabulous questions you get from operators at a food show. One of my favorite questions of all time, this was probably 10 or 11 years ago. I had an operator come up to me at the show. We're talking about shrimp, and she goes, "You know what? Let me ask you a question. If they're imitation shrimp, how do you put the tails on them?" I didn't laugh, didn't smile, didn't want to embarrass her, because if you think about it, that is a very legitimate question. I mean, after all, if you hear water-added ham, you know what you're getting, right? You hear surimi, you're getting fake crab. So if you hear imitation shrimp, well, it's got to be chopped and formed, ground up something, isn't it? No, that's not the case. What this is a case of is the government getting involved in labeling when they shouldn't be. prior to the global sourcing of shrimp, shrimp was very expensive here in the US. 15 years ago, our distributor cost, actually it's probably more like 17, 18 years ago, our distributor cost on 1620 dinner shrimp was $9 a pound. It's not even that now, I don't think. So what some smart people figured out was, you know, shrimp sold by weight, if we put a lot of breading on it, the shrimp will cost less and we can sell more of it. Well, the government got involved and they said, look, Mr. Manufacturer, if the level of breading that you put on your shrimp is more than 50% by weight, you have to call it imitation shrimp. That lets people know they're getting shrimp with a lot of breading on it. Well, what's evolved since that point is if something says imitation shrimp, industry standard is 60-65% breading, okay? But once you call it imitation, there's no limit to the amount of breading you can put on there. I've seen some stuff from some of our competitors that, man, you gotta get a drill. You gotta drill down in there. But once you get in there, you'll find real shrimp. It's the level of breading. Imitation shrimp is real shrimp with a lot of breading on it. Now, if you hear the term breaded shrimp, government spec, basic industry standard is 50% plus or minus 2 on the weight of the breading, the rest of it's shrimp. Tampa Made, and I remember when I interviewed with Tampa Made, George Watkins, who's the owner of the company, said, look, Mike, everybody's getting their shrimp from overseas now. You can't do it here in the US. It's too expensive to hand labor. But if we don't get the best, we're not shipping it out. So our spec is actually 48% plus or minus 2. We want to be a little bit under what our competitors do, okay? So that's breaded shrimp. Now, if you hear the terms lightly breaded or maybe chef dusted, something along those lines, that's about a 35% breading level. It's just enough to cover the product. Makes for a great product, a little more expensive, so we don't sell very much of that. But that's the differential in shrimp. Imitation, 60-65% breading. Breaded shrimp, 50% plus or minus 2. Chef dusted, lightly breaded, 35%. Now, I've said the term breading a lot. What does breading mean with shrimp? Well, you've all heard the terms Japanese breadcrumb, Oriental breadcrumb, panko breadcrumb. When you are talking frozen breaded shrimp, those 3 words all mean the exact same thing. Now, you are going to see the word Oriental go away. Oriental as a descriptive word is considered a pejorative, a slur, particularly on the West Coast and some other markets. So that word is going to go away. But what all those words are referring to are the crunchy exterior coating that you find on the shrimp. And quite frankly, it's actually a very cool product. The first time I saw a loaf of bread from which Japanese breadcrumb was going to come from, I thought it was a lump of raw dough. It wasn't round, it was white, and I picked it up and I'm like, oh, this is cooked. And this is how it's done. The dough is put on a steel rod, and there's a plate put over it, and electricity is run through it, almost like microwaving in a way. And what this does 3 things different than American breadcrumb, which I will cover in just a moment, okay? This is what cooking it that way, and by the way, I have no idea how this came about, why, can't speak to that. I can only tell you this is how it works and why it works. What happens is 3 things happen. Because you're not in an oven with the heat cooking all around it, it doesn't brown. The second thing is it dries it out more because you don't have the exterior browning and holding the moisture in. More moisture escapes, which gives you a drier product. But here's the part that makes it crunchy. The electricity, when it pulls through, it pulls the molecules down almost into a triangular shape. And that's where you get the crunch from in Japanese breadcrumb. Now, American breadcrumb. American breadcrumb is a brown product. We use it in our oven-ready products. You have to use some American breadcrumb in there. And where that's different is it's put in a strap pan, it's baked, you have the heat keeping constant pressure on it so it browns, but the other part of it is because it's a pressure all the way around, the molecules are round on the inside and they're softer. So American breadcrumb tends to be softer. The Japanese breadcrumb gives you that good crunch because of how it works that way. Now, I'm a scientist. It's how it's been explained to me. I have a degree in anthropology for what it's worth, and partied most of the time through college. So I'm giving you what I've been taught. But at the end of the day, it's a really cool product. Now, you've all heard the terms 1620 CTBF. Let's see here. Nobody's going to eat these shrimp, so I can pick it up. And this is not a 1620, but this will give you the idea. This is a 3135 CTBF, and here's what all that means. The number, the 1620, 2125, whatever the number may be, that is the finished count per pound in the box. It's not what you started with. It's not what you worked with. That is the finished count per pound in the box. So if you have a 1620, you count it out, you should average 18. 2125, you'll average 23. At 2630, you'll average 28, and so on. CT does not stand for count like a lot of people think it does. CT stands for clean tail. What that means is there's no breading on the tail. Okay? BF means butterfly. Now, most shrimp sold in food service is butterflied, and here's why. This again goes back to the day when shrimp was very expensive. Somebody figured out, hey, if we cut the shrimp in half and flop it open, it looks like you're getting a lot more than you're getting. And that's how butterfly shrimp and why butterfly shrimp came about. Now, if you see the term 1620 CTRD, RD means round, which is essentially saying it's a shrimp that's not been butterflied. And quite frankly, that's the best eating shrimp there is. You're biting into the entire shrimp. It's fabulous. There are some markets, North Dakota, one in particular, round shrimp is the #1 selling shrimp up there. And along from North Dakota, along into northern Wisconsin and some other areas, round shrimp's a big deal. Here in the rest of the United States, not so much, for one reason. Even though it's a better eating product than a butterfly product, it's called plate coverage. For example, a 1620 round will give you about the same plate coverage as a 2125 butterfly, and there's a big difference in the cost. So we don't sell as much round. We are going to show you a round product. You will see that later today. And it's a great eating product, but butterfly is free for the most part. Now, another term you're going to hear is fantail. Now, that term comes from back in the day. Some people actually used to fan this little tail out. Well, nobody does that anymore. The cost is too high. The labor is too high to do it. And for some reason, and I don't know why, the word fantail has evolved to mean butterfly. So if somebody asks you, do you have a Japanese fantail breaded shrimp? Yes, you do. Do you have an Oriental butterfly shrimp? Yes, you do. That's just some of the terminology that's used. I have another item I want to show you. This is called a large breaded piece. This is one of my favorite items, very versatile, great for poor boys, tacos, wraps, salads, pretty much everything. But what this is, when shrimp is processed, sometimes that hard tail comes off. What you see here that looks like a tail is just a little bit of the meat that's in the tail. Now, in the shrimp world, and I don't make up the rules, when the tail is gone, this is considered a byproduct. So it costs less than shrimp with the tail, but in essence, what you have is 100% edible breaded dinner shrimp. So if you hear the term large breaded piece, it's not a big popcorn, it's not a big basket shrimp. This is a large breaded piece, okay? Now, we've all heard the terms basket shrimp, popcorn shrimp. A lot of people think because it's pouched like this, this is basket shrimp. And that terminology comes from back in the day. These products actually used to come with a little plastic basket. And yes, it is a true story. We got complaints from people that the basket melted in the fryer. That really did happen. It's actually happened to me a couple of times where I got written complaints. And when we have a written complaint come in, Rod Stokes or Dan Merriman, our two folks down there that take care of QA, they have to contact that customer. Actually had a couple complaints come in from people that the bag melted in the fryer. Don't understand it, don't know if they're still in business, but it happens. But at the end of the day, that is not what makes this a basket shrimp. Popcorn shrimp's not called popcorn shrimp because it's a small shrimp. Basket shrimp and popcorn shrimp are both made with the same raw ingredient, which is called a pud, peeled undeveined, okay? The difference between the two is this. Popcorn shrimp is peeled undeveined tail off. Basket shrimp, peeled undeveined tail on. That's the difference between the two. However, I do have to say that today that difference is irrelevant for this reason. There is a significant shortage of raw material for this product. All puds are wild caught. It does not pay a pond grower, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about growing in a minute. It doesn't pay a shrimp grower to do a 250, 350 count shrimp in their ponds. Doesn't pay them to do it. So puds are wild caught. Generally off the coast of South America, Suriname, Guyana are the two major areas. And there are some real difficulties going on in that market right now. You all need to be aware of this because there's going to be shortages. There's just no way around it in popcorn and basket shrimp. I think you've all seen the show Deadliest Catch. We've all seen that where they're out doing the crab, the Alaskan king crab, and they pull up a pot and nothing will be in it. That has been happening with the puds off the coast of South America. They have a limited window to procure this product, and for some reason, finding the biomass has been very difficult. That's number one. Number two, there are a lot of companies now, retail companies, national chains, that will not accept a seafood product that is not BAP certified or MSC certified or something like that. Well, Suriname and Guyana, one of them is approved, one of them isn't. I forget which one, the other one's working on it. But the one that's approved only has 12 to 15 boats out there doing the pud fishing. So when you put it all together, right now, there's going to be a big shortage in that area. My understanding is it's down about 80% over where it has been traditionally. I just wanted to make everybody aware of that on top of the normal COVID supply chain hiccups that are going across the board everywhere right now, and I know it's not just us, you're seeing it with some of your other lines. Those hiccups are going on. This is on top of that. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that there's going to be some problems in those areas, okay? But that's basket shrimp and popcorn shrimp, and I believe in terms of the shrimp, those are most of the definitions I want to give you. Now I want to give you some definitions in some other areas as well. Dipped and dusted. All of you, or if you haven't already, you will see it on our price list. You'll see it on our items, dipped and dusted. We've got a number of items under dipped and dusted. We've got calamari rings, rings and tentacles, strips. We've got shrimp tenders, grouper tenders. We've got a number of items under dipped and dusted. Dipped and dusted is trademarked by Tampa Made. Dipped and dusted is a process, not a flavor profile, okay? All the seafood items, all the items we deal with are wet. Batter's wet. Two wet items will not adhere together, so you have to put something in between. So on our dipped and dusted items, what we do is they get a light flour dust, and we use a hard red wheat flour. Then they get battered, dipped in batter, and then they get another light flour dust, hence dipped and dusted. The end result is a product that's in about the 40% breading level, light, crispy, very homemade. But every product we do has a different formula for the dipped and dusted because you need different viscosities, you need different flavor profiles. As a matter of fact, calamari rings and tentacles have two different dipped and dusted profiles. This is the calamari rings and tentacles. This is, I believe, our #1 selling SKU as a company for Tampa Made. If we used the same dipped and dusted batter on the tentacles that we did on the rings, these would be dumplings. We don't want dumplings. So this actually has a different batter profile than this one does. They are run separately and then blended together in a natural mix, which is, I believe, about a 60-40 or 65-35 rings to tentacles situation. So when you see the term dipped and dusted, understand it is a process, not a flavor profile. And it's a complex process. You've all worked with flour at home. You know how things are. You get things wet, you're dealing with flour, you can have a real mess on your hands. We've mastered the product to be able to do it. The chicken companies have kind of mastered it. A lot of people have a tough time working with the flour, but at the end of the day, from Tampa Made, you're going to get a great product, very homemade looking, crispy, light, but that's what dipped and dusted is, okay? Then we have our category, our lightly battered breaded vegetables called Harvest Creations. Now, Harvest Creations is a great story. Years ago, we were doing business with a chain in Florida called Hurricanes, and we were selling them shrimp. Hurricanes came to us and said, "Hey, we can't find a pickle chip where the batter will stay on. Can you do one?" And Dave Pierce, who was president of the company at the time, said, "No, we're a seafood company. We can't do that." Hurricane said, "We'll buy 100,000 pounds." Dave goes, "Well, we are a coating company, so I think we can do that." Well, they did it for Hurricanes, and it went so well that when we came down for a national sales meeting, this must have been 8 or 9 years ago, they said, "Look, guys, we've got a couple of pickles here, different than Hurricanes, some pickle chips. We've got a flour dusted pickle chip. We got a panko dusted pickle chip. Go out and see if you can do something with it." Well, we were very successful with it. So the decision was made to do a line of lightly battered, lightly coated vegetables under the Tampa Made Harvest Creation brand. But what we weren't going to do, we weren't going to do white button mushrooms. We weren't going to do mozzarella sticks. We weren't going to do onion rings. We can't compete with people that are doing truckloads of that. We wanted to do something different. The first item that we came out with was fried green tomatoes. And I remember sitting in the back of the room going, I'm up in the Midwest, north of Interstate 70. Nobody's ever heard of a fried green tomato. What am I supposed to do with it? God, was I wrong? I was so wrong. Up until just a couple of months ago, and I'll get more into that in a moment, fried green tomatoes was my #1 selling street item for food service, and it's grown every year since we've introduced it. I'm still stunned by it. I really am. It's amazing that it has worked that way. But anyway, that's Harvest Creations. So when you see Harvest Creations, again, all the flavor profiles are different, all the battering, coating is different. That just describes our vegetable category. I gotta tell you, I'm really excited about the whole Harvest Creation category. Again, a couple of years ago, I was down in Tampa Bay talking with George Watkins, and I'm telling him I've got this going on and that going on, and almost all of it was Harvest Creations. And George looked at me, he goes, "Mike, you do realize that we are a seafood company. 95% of what we sell is seafood." I go, "George, that may be, but 95% of my opportunities right now are at Harvest Creations." Harvest Creations now make up over 20% of the pounds that are sold in the Midwest. And I believe the Midwest territory is either the largest in terms of pounds or right behind Chuck Pappas in the Southeast. We're both very close in the number of pounds that we do. And Harvest Creations make up 3 of my top 7 items in the Midwest. Really a cool product, really a lot of fun to take out. We'll get into that more as we go along. Now, I told you I was going to talk about shrimp ponds for a moment. Ponds may be the worst word ever used for farm-raised shrimp. And by the way, all of the shrimp that we use outside of the puds that are wild caught, everything that we used is farm-raised and comes from Asia. In the United States, the Gulf, the coastal areas only supply 10% of the shrimp in the United States. If we didn't have global sourcing on shrimp, most people wouldn't be able to afford shrimp. Okay, So we source it. Now overseas, where it's farm raised, you can't imagine the size of these fields. They are many, many football fields inside and kind of look like rice paddies in a way without the rice coming up. It's really a phenomenal process. Shrimp's a crop no different than corn or soybeans, okay? Twice a year in most markets, sometimes they get a crop. And what happens is they take these huge, massive, many football-sized fields, they're lined, water's filled in there, the shrimp larvae are planted, so to speak. They're fed, they all grow at about the same rate, and then about the time they reach the size that the grower's looking for, the pond, for lack of a better word, is drained, the shrimp are harvested, and it's done again. It's really an amazing, amazing process, and we will not see that process duplicated here in the United States. Well, why? It's very simple. For shrimp farming, to do it on this scale, you need to be on the coast. You need brackish water, a combination of fresh and salt water to make it work the best. And what is the most valuable land in the United States? Coastal land. So we're not going to see it happening here. And the amount of shrimp that's raised worldwide is truly staggering. I mean, it really is. It's an amazing process. We're part of a global economy, and it's so interesting to me. But anyway, all the shrimp that we bring in come from overseas. Now, where are they bred? How does that work here? 87% of the pounds that Tampa Made sells are produced in Lakeland. All of our harvest creation items, all of our dipped and dusted items, all the popcorn, all the basket shrimp, all of that is done in Lakeland. The one thing that is not done are what we call the dinner shrimp, the shrimp with the tail on it. You cannot do that here in the United States because labor costs are too high. If you ever think you're having a bad day, there are people that sit around all day that do nothing but pull breading off tails before the shrimp is shipped out, and then they have to layer pack it one by one in the boxes and layer it all in there nicely. You just can't do that here in the US. Relatively speaking, overseas, people are cheap, machinery is expensive. Here in the United States, machinery is expensive, relatively speaking, and is inexpensive, and people are very expensive. So all of what we call the dinner shrimp with the tail, that is all imported. Now, to that end, people go, oh, wow, coming from China, although it doesn't come from China anymore. How do you know it's safe? What do you do? Our facility in Tampa is every year monitored by BRC, which is the British Retail Consortium. Now, the British Retail Consortium is the largest and most respected inspection agency in the world. If we get an A from BRC, which we always do, we can send it to national chains, and these chains don't need to inspect us. We can send it, I send it to Aaron Dean at Gordon Food Service, and once they see we got an A from BRC, Gordon does not need to come inspect us, okay? Our facilities that we deal with outside the United States, and we don't just go out and put a bid out. We have people that we work with. They're BRC inspected as well. They're HACCP certified. They get all the same certifications that we have here. Our breading company that we do a lot with, Newlyweds, they have got plants overseas as well so that they can supply us. They literally do it overseas as if we were doing it here. And that's what you have to do. I can remember a few years ago, I had a call from, I think it was University of Wisconsin. I don't know how they got a hold of my name and number, and they said, look, we want domestic shrimp breaded here in the US. We don't want anything coming from overseas. And I go, all right, great. That'll probably cost you $6, $7 a pound more than what you're paying now. We'll get back to you. Well, no, they never got back to me. You just cannot do it here in the United States. It's just not going to happen. Now, if you can remember any of what I told you, you know more about British shrimp than most people will ever know. But how does that fit in with everything that's going on today? How does this all come together? You know, I've been traveling for 35 plus years. I've been in a hotel room 150 nights a year for those 35 years. I'm a 3-meal-a-day guy. I've eaten out more times than you can possibly imagine. I did the math one time. I figure I've eaten out over 20,000 times. I despise eating out. I really do. I hate it. We don't eat out at home. But just when I first started, and my kids were younger, I'd come home after traveling and my wife would go, oh, let's go out and eat. I'm like, okay. But I went, okay, I just wanted a peanut butter sandwich, but okay. I know what, kids are home, it's tough, we're gonna go out and eat. And one time she came with me for 4 days. And after the third night, she said, I'm tired of hotel rooms, I'm sick of eating out, I don't know how you do this. And from that point on, we don't eat out. I like to cook, I'm a peasant cook, my wife bakes, so it works out great. When I travel, I have to go out and eat. I had no way around it. 3-meal-a-day guy, got to do it. I have 2 things that I do when I go out and eat. One where I'm the same as everybody and one where I'm different than anybody. The one where I'm different than everybody is this. I will not voluntarily sit down in a chain restaurant. I don't care if it's Applebee's, Houlihan's, Fridays, Red Lobster, you name it. I don't care who it is. My living is made at the independent restaurateur. I'm going to find an independent restaurant to eat at. I hope you all do the same thing. If I were you, I would eat at one of my customers, let them know I'm there, or I would eat at a customer at an operator that I want to make my customers so I can get to know them a little bit better and know their menu a little bit better. I won't eat at the chain restaurants that we sell to. That's our national account side. They've got a whole different world that they have to worry about. I want to support the independent restaurateurs. Now, when I do go out to eat, here's where I'm the same as everybody else. An operator, if I'm going in there for the first time, they get 1 shot. And the food better be good for what they're charging me or I am not coming back. And one of the reasons why I despise eating out today is how disappointed I am at the food that I get at most of our independent operators. And I understand why. I get it. I know why. Our independent operators have been getting hammered by 2 major and competing factors out there. And the first one is this: value menu and bundling. The chains don't call it that because they don't want to be associated with quick serve restaurants. But what else is 2 for $20 with a shared appetizer or dessert? Value menu and bundling. And it started just with the recession of 2010. Some moron in marketing, please don't be offended if you're in marketing, I'm not slamming you, but somebody in marketing at either Chili's or Applebee's, I don't know who did it first, decided that $10 was the magic number. They were going to tell people, you're going to go out to eat for $10. And since 2010, the chains have spent millions of dollars telling people, you're going to go out to eat for $10. And if you think that's gone away, it has not. Just recently, I have seen Burger King advertise our $1 menu. McDonald's was just advertising 2 for $4. Pizza Hut advertising any pizza you want for $10, and Applebee's is still doing the 2 for $20. So what's lurking under there? And as we get back to normal, the chains are going to continue to do it because they fucked themselves into a corner and they don't know how to get out of it, okay? Let me ask you a question. Have prices gone up in the last 10 years? Has labor costs gone up in the last 10 years? How can they serve a good meal for $10? And the answer is they can't. They can't serve a good meal for $10. Now, a couple of them have tried to break out of it. I remember before COVID hit, seeing the Ponderosa of Italian food, Olive Garden, advertising, buy a meal, take a meal for $12.99. 2 meals for $12.99. It's like they're all trying to get under the $10 thing. Steak and Shake, once they closed 100 operations, they were advertising, hey, 40 meals for under $5. Cracker Barrel was advertising 25 meals for under $8. And by the way, Cracker Barrel in 2019 admitted that their customer visits were down 2% and they needed to do something to change things around, okay? So these chains are all doing it. They can't find a way out of it. Applebee's tried for a little bit. They were doing an all-you-can-eat riblets, something else, and double crunch shrimp for $12.99. Well, we all know what double crunch shrimp is, right? It's imitation shrimp. They're trying to find a way out. They can't. They box themselves into a corner at the $10 level. And unfortunately, it is that number, and that is what our operators have been looking at. How do they compete with that? And the thing is, I don't know why they want to compete with it, because it's not working for the chains. A couple of years ago, we had somebody down at Tampa Bay for a meeting, a gentleman from Technomics, and he's talking about everything going on in the business. And he's showing this chain and that chain, and for every one of the chains, their numbers were in the red, every single one of them, except one. And that customer never does value anything. They never do bundling. They've raised their prices when they've needed to, and their tagline is food the way it should be, and that was Panera Bread. Otherwise, everybody else was in the red. It is a losing way to go after your business. It's the worst way to handle things. And I know you all hear it. I know you all hear it out there, particularly prior to COVID. How do I get it cheaper? Find this for me cheaper. Do this for me cheaper. That is singularly the worst way an operator can run their restaurant, is worrying about price. They can't do that. It's a losing proposition. I mean, this is the basket product. This is the price item, okay? This is the gut filler. This is the one where an operator will go, oh, I can get it cheaper here, I can get it cheaper there. You have to find a way to get this cheaper to me. And this is where you gotta look at them. This is where you have to be a restaurant consultant. You have to look at it and go, why? Who walks out of your restaurant after eating this going, that's the best shrimp basket I ever ate? Nobody did it. By the way, we make a better basket and a better popcorn than anybody else because we use what's called a dry thaw method. Because all the product that this is made with comes in frozen. We dry thaw it. Most other people put it in a saline solution. You know what happens when you put shrimp, which is 85% water, in a saline solution? It pumps up and gets soft. We don't do that. We make a good one, but it's still a gut filler. And what you want to do is you want to tell people, you know what? I don't want you to look at that. I'm going to show you a product that weighs less, costs more, but it's going to work for you. That's this item right here. This is one of my favorite items of all time. This is a 6-ounce pouch. And inside this pouch, and you can see a little breading here, that's because this has been sitting out for a couple of hours and it's thawed out a little bit. This is one of the best things we make. Weighs less, costs more, but this will help draw people in, okay? Now there are on average 12 shrimp in this pouch. You cannot sell it as a 12 count because it's sold by weight. Sometimes there's 11, sometimes there's 13. But I've got 2 baskets here. This is the 1 pouch. This is the 6-ounce pouch. Which one do you want to eat? Which one is an operator, is somebody going to eat and walk out of there going, wow, that is the best shrimp basket I ever had? It's not even a close call. The 6-ounce pouch makes an absolutely fabulous product. And on top of that, it's a versatile item. Here is that same 6-ounce pouch with some rice and some veggies. The plate cost here is maybe $3 1/4. Well, there's your 2 for $20. With a shared appetizer and dessert with the #1 selling seafood item sold the #1 way people like it. And it works. It does work. Breaded shrimp fits. Breaded shrimp fits all the trends that are going on today. Okay? Because the other trend that's hammering our independent operators is this. People are cooking at home. They're corollary to that is because they are cooking at home, when they go out, they want something better and different than they can do at home. You know, I told you that we don't go out to eat at home. We do have to go out and eat when we go on vacation. And I can't tell you how many times my wife has looked at me when we're at a restaurant, she said, "You make this better at home." Well, if I were local, why in the world would I ever go back there? If they can't give me something better and different than I'm doing at home, I have no reason to go in and see them, okay? If the only thing they are focused on is price and cutting their costs, I don't need them. The most expensive thing any operator has in their restaurant is not their help coming in the door. It's not the order coming in from the distributor or the liquor company or whatever. The most important thing any operator has in their restaurant is an empty chair. If they are open and that chair is empty, that's the most expensive thing they have. They need to start making their decisions based around, how do I fill that empty chair, as opposed to how do I cut my costs. My father is 88. His first cousin is quite a bit younger than he is. He had a restaurant up in Escanaba, Michigan, Crispini's Supper Club. He had it for 25 years. And a brew pub came in, a casino came in, and he started losing some business. Well, instead of trying to get better, he tried to cut his costs. And within a year, he cut himself out of business. You cannot cut your way to prosperity. If you open, the only way you prosper is to get people coming in the door. And breaded shrimp fits that category. You know how we know that? During COVID, this has been a terrible year for all. It's a terrible year for all. But you know what Gordon Food Service told me? Gordon Food Service told me that the breaded shrimp category that we provide Gordon has outsold the entire seafood category at Gordon and has outperformed what Gordon does. And it's not just Gordon. US has told us the same thing. Cisco's told us the same thing, and PFG has told us the same thing. Our distributors are telling us that the breaded seafood, breaded shrimp category is outselling what they are doing as a company. You know why? Because breaded shrimp is a treat for people to eat out. People still remember when breaded shrimp was very expensive. They still remember what a treat it is. It's fried. It fits everything that goes on. And here's the best part. It's a value today compared to what's going on. Those large breaded pieces, for example. I have a basket here and a plate here made with the large breaded pieces. Now these large breaded pieces average about 22 cents a piece to the operator. I mean, look at this first, the dinner plate. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. At 22 cents a piece, we've got $1.76 in protein cost. You can make a basket out of it. You can put 10, 12, 15 of them on here and give people a massive treat and make money and still be in the 2 for $20 category. Shrimp fits every single thing, every single trend to help get people in the restaurant. That's where we fit in. That's where all this works, okay? We're still in a great business. There's a lot of people that make their living doing what we do, running restaurants. We have to help them. Breaded shrimp fits that category, and selling breaded shrimp is good for everybody. It helps keep Tampa Made in business. It helps keep you guys in business. You can cross-sell with your Kens. You can, if you're going to go see somebody for your fish company Highliner, I'll bet those people could look at breaded shrimp. You've got a lot of things where it really comes together, and it works, and the numbers are telling us it works. Breaded shrimp just fits everything. Now, something really important happened in 2017. That might have been 2018. Denny's changed their pancake batter. They used to use a mix that you just added water to, and they went to one. Chef, we'll be ready for you. Okay. No, I'm just letting you know, we're just about there. They went to a batter mix that you had to add oil and egg to. More labor, more cost. They made a big deal out of it. You may remember this. Lighter, fluffier, better pancakes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And when they were asked why, and this was in the USA Today business section, when they were asked, did you make this change? Denny's answered, because being good isn't good enough anymore. Denny's gets it. We have to help our operators get it. Being good isn't good enough anymore. You have to be better. You have to give people a reason to come in. You have to give people something better and different than they can do at home, better and different than they can get from their competitor. If you're just going to stay open doing the same old stuff, you're not going to stay open. You're not going to survive today. We fit. Being good isn't good enough anymore. It was valid then. It's even more important now. Okay. You were all deacons in the church of the shrimp selling gospel here. I appreciate you paying attention to me. We are going to move on to actually looking products and plates here. The first products that we're going to look at are what I call the essential 7. These are the 7 items that most of our distributors stock in one form or another. These are all great items, great selling items, and they fit everywhere. And the 7 items are the 6-ounce pouch, the large breaded pieces that I showed you, the calamari rings and tentacles that I showed you, grouper tenders, which Chef is going to walk through you with. Now, the grouper tender, first of all, there's no such thing as a grouper tender, but you got to call it something, right? It is grouper. In Florida, it's very interesting. This was about 10, 12 years ago. The Florida market, Florida grouper is a big deal. Well, lots of restaurants have grouper on the menu, but it wasn't really Florida grouper. There wasn't enough grouper to go around. So the state of Florida passed a law that said if you are caught selling something labeled as grouper that is not, it's a $10,000 per case fine. When that happened, grouper disappeared off half the menus in the state of Florida. Now, our grouper comes from India, mostly live caught, hand cut. We DNA test every load to prove to the state of Florida that it's grouper, okay? Great product, 9 to 12 pieces per pound. Each piece is going to run 70 to 72 cents. Chef's going to show you that, okay? So those are the 4 on the seafood side. The Harvest Creation side that make up the rest of what I call the essential 7 are our pickle fries, fried green tomatoes, and bella mushrooms, okay? Now, up until just a few weeks ago, the fried green tomato has been my #1 selling street item. Pickle fries just passed them. Now, our pickle fries are made with a fresh refrigerated pickle. There's 3 kinds of pickles out there for those of you that don't know. There's what's called a processed pickle. Now, a processed pickle is where they take a cucumber, put it in a very heavy salt brine, and let it soak for 6 months. I used to work for a pickle company many years ago. These fats were outside. They didn't even cover them. Didn't have to. There was so much salt in the brine, you couldn't hurt it, okay? That's what hamburger dill chips come from, for example. And by the way, I'm not saying they no longer cover the vats. That's been changed. The process is still the same. The second pickle is called a fresh pack pickle. That's where they take a cucumber, put it in a container, put the brine on it, cover it, pasteurize it. That makes it shelf stable, and it's still a crisper product than the processed one. The last is a fresh refrigerated. That's where you take a dill, a cucumber, you put it in the brine, you refrigerate it. That's it. It's never pasteurized, and it's not soaked in the brine forever, kind of like a Clausen kind of thing, okay? Our pickle fries are made with a fresh refrigerated pickle, and it blows away the McCain pickle fry. It blows away the US Foods Molly's Kitchen pickle fry. It's a fun cutting to do, and I highly recommend if you get a chance to do it, okay? So that's one of the essential 7. Fried green tomatoes is #2. Now, our fried green tomatoes, we use, for lack of a better word, just the center cuts. We don't use the tops. We don't use the bottoms, okay? So you get very consistent sizing, and it's got cornmeal in the crust, so it's very crunchy. And then the third item is our bella mushrooms. Now, the whole category involving vegetables as an appetizer is very interesting. protein-based appetizers over the last 5 years are down in sales about 17%. And there's a couple of reasons for that. People aren't eating out as much. Protein-based appetizers are way up. Calamari is very expensive. Even mozzarella sticks, chicken wings, very expensive. The vegetables, on the other hand, are relatively inexpensive, easy to share, very good. Those products are just skyrocketing still, except for white button mushrooms. White button mushrooms are actually down over where they used to be because they don't fit what people are looking for. They're not a treat, they're not something different. They've been around forever, they're full of water, they have no flavor. They're a grease button. What we did was we took a baby portobello mushroom, which is a cremini mushroom. We slice it, picture a mushroom cap, we slice it, so the sizes are gonna be different. We do it in a dipped and dusted batter. And I gotta tell you, when you fry some of those up and you pull them out of the fryer, you can smell mushrooms. Now, the Bella mushrooms are $1 to $1.25 a pound more to the operator than the white button mushrooms. And it's in my top 8 selling items right now. People want to be treated when they go out. So those are the essential 7. Chef's going to go over that. Then we're going to go over a few other additional items. Then we're introducing a new category called Crunch Keeper, which I'm very excited about. And we'll talk about that more when we get to the last 4. But right now, again, thank you for listening to me. I'm going to turn you over to Chef. He's the best. And he's going to start going through what you can do with some of the essential 7 items. Thanks, everybody.
All right, how's everybody doing today? We're gonna start off at this end. As you can kind of see, I'm gonna have Mark kind of pan out. This was with 10 items from Tampa Made. So we made about 22 plates, and we really want to show the versatility of the product and how you can do so many different things with it for our customers. So first 2 items we're going to talk about is a 6-ounce pouch here in the back, which we just did as a basket, French fries, tartar sauce, and then the 7.5-ounce imitation pouch basket we did as well. Now, with all these items that we showed you today, if it's just on a plate, you can easily put that in a basket as well. We just want to show some different concepts with it. So that was the first 2 baskets we did. Next item we got is our 6-ounce pouch as well, just as a plated dinner. And we also utilized our Kent Precision rice pilaf with that as well. So there's 2 of our good clients that we got on a plate there. Next item is the large breaded pieces, which we did as a plate. Same thing, except we used the Kent Precision wild rice blend with that one. Then we also did that as a basket too. So in all of these things, and I believe I sent Thomas costing and also recipes for all the items that we're showing today, so you can utilize these on the street with our customers. And it's got the pricing on there too, so I won't really get into that too much. But we got another large breaded pieces, which we just did as a basket as well. The next item we utilized was our Aunt Millie's high crown breads, and we used the fried green tomato and made a black bacon, lettuce, tomato, avocado sandwich, just with the side of chips, grilled up real nice, shows real nice, and it looks great right in the middle of that sandwich there. So that was a easy way to utilize the fried green tomatoes. And I will say this on the fried green tomatoes, even according to what it says on the box, when you're frying them, you want to go a little bit longer on them. You'll get a little bit more crunch on them, and they'll hold up a little bit better. So going in line with the fried green tomatoes, I did a peach fried green tomato caprese salad. So we utilized 3 pieces of our fried green tomatoes, fresh peaches, fresh mozzarella, basil, and then we used our Ken's balsamic and fig sauce just as a topper. Looks beautiful, great presentation, nice little appetizer for your customers. Next item is the Boom Boom shrimp, and this is the large breaded pieces. Some of you may have been on a call that I did a while back with Mike, another training. This is a no-brainer, folks. If you've ever been to a Bonefish Grill, this is their #1 selling appetizer on the menu across the country. Killer flavor profile, and it's super simple. I literally fried the large breaded pieces, tossed it in our Boom Boom sauce, put it on a bed of shredded lettuce, garnished with green onion and lemon. And that's pretty much how you're going to see it at Bonefish Grill, except their pieces are smaller. Awesome item as well for portability and to-go items. And Mike's going to touch on a couple of the new products that got a little bit longer hold time. This sauce with the boom boom with the American shrimp would go perfect as a to-go item too, just because you're going to get a little bit more time and get a lot more crunch on it. Next item we did was a large breaded piece. We utilized the large breaded pieces and we did a po' boy. So we used our signature breads French roll. We used our Tampa made large breaded pieces. I got a Ken's remoulade on the bun, pickles, tomato, and lettuce. So classic, kind of a classic po' boy sandwich. You don't have to use just shrimp, focusing on Tampa made, so it's a perfect fit with that. Po' boys actually started out being just gravy and fried potatoes, and it was for railcar workers that actually were laid off and striking, and that was the cheapest thing they could do. So there's a local place in New Orleans, supposedly, that slapped some French fries and some gravy on a bun, and that was the original po' boy. Well, it manifested into shrimp, oysters. You can really do it with any fish too. You're seeing fish po' boys as well, but great presentation and great flavor profile. So that right there, you got 3 of our clients on one plate. Easy sell. Po' boys are not going anywhere, and I'm starting to see them on a lot more menus as well. Next item I did was just our large breaded shrimp pieces as a taco. We did 3 tacos. I did 2 pieces of the large breaded shrimp in each shell. On the recipes that I had sent to Tom that I think will be in EB, you'll see use 2 shells when you're using the corn, just because they hold up a little bit better. So I took a slaw and I took our Jamaican jerk sauce from Ken's. I added a little bit of Ken's slaw dressing to make the slaw underneath the shrimp. I just garnished it with cilantro, cojita cheese, and a slice of jalapeno. Next item we got for you is a Caesar salad utilizing large breaded shrimp pieces. So romaine lettuce, Ken's Caesar dressing, large breaded Tampa made large breaded shrimp pieces, onion, Parmesan shavings. So if you're kind of following along, we just used the large breaded pieces just right there 4 times already. So there's 4 items you can do with 4 menu ideations, and we can do this all day long. We got a lot of talented chefs across the Costas footprint. So just recognize what it is, because you can use this 4 different ways. This is a way for us to be a solution to our customers. Give them, hey, you got this 1 item. We can do it 6 different ways. It's going to make you money. Next item I did, I'm actually like a lot. We took the grouper tenders and did a Nashville hot grouper sandwich. So Nashville hot chicken sandwich obviously is a hot commodity at the moment and still going strong, and everybody seems to be trying to add it to the menu. What I did is I took the grouper tenders, or Ken's Nashville hot sauce, dipped the tenders in there, shredded lettuce, some pickles and mayo on our Aunt Millie's brioche bun. So that there again, you got 3 of our clients on one plate, easy sell, hot on trend, killer flavor profile, worked out really well. The next item we did was just a grouper tender basket. It's pretty self-explanatory. I don't have to tell you. It's the fried grouper, French fries, and a little of our Ken's tartar sauce. The grouper is a mild fish, so it really works well with a lot of different applications. And you'll see that as we're kind of going down here. So that's the grouper basket. Next, I did a Green Goddess grouper salad. So we used our Ken's Green Goddess dressing. I used some mixed greens, red onion, pineapple, a little bit of mandarin orange, and then 4 pieces of grouper, just as a nice salad. It's a great money maker. You could even go 3 pieces with it for a salad, but on almost every salad option, you'll have a chicken, a meat, a fish, a shrimp, a seafood. Grouper works perfect for it. Nice, mild, but great flavor profile on their breading there. The next item just kept it super classic. So this is the calamari rings and tentacles. I did it kind of as a traditional Italian style would, just a little bit of parsley, lemon, and then a marinara sauce on the back end. This one is pretty cool. So what we're utilizing here is a bunch of their fried vegetables. So what we did is a veg-cuterie tray. So you'd have a charcuterie tray normally in some restaurants with meats, cheeses, dips, and sauces. Well, instead of meats and cheeses, we use all of their vegetables. So we utilize the fried green tomato, the pickle fries, the Bella mushrooms, and their cauliflower. Fantastic presentation, great shareable plate. I think it looks pretty cool, and it's a great way to show 4 of their items at once. In the background, we got all of our Ken's dipping sauces. We got a ranch, honey mustard, and our brew pub mustard. You can change those up however they want or however the customer wants. But again, you got 2 clients on one plate. I think it looks pretty cool. And with, veg-centric people kind of being on trend and not going anywhere, and it just keeps going upward, I think it's a great option for it. Next item's pretty cool. I like this one. This is kind of a knockoff of something I used to do in a restaurant I was at. It's the Bello mushrooms bruschetta. So I took some of our signature breads, French bread, grilled it. I warmed up goat cheese, added some roasted shallots to the goat cheese, some thyme, placed a Bella mushroom on top, a little bit of shallot on top of that, and then the balsamic fig glaze from Ken's. Killer flavor profile, awesome appetizer. You can add another one for $5 if you want. I think it looks really nice. The flavors are phenomenal. So again, you got 3 manufacturers on one plate for an appetizer. Great.
Before you move to the next group, I'm going to go ahead and interject for a couple minutes here before Chef gets to the next group. Based on what we're doing here, there's only so much that we can show you, and we wanted to kind of give you a good idea, the Essential 7 and some other key items, especially for those of you that are not as familiar with our line, to give you a good base to be able to go out with items that'll kind of appeal across the board. The next group we have here are just some items that work real well for us. And we've got our flour dusted pickle, which was one of the original items that we came out with, and it is in my top 10 selling items. And then I'm going to talk about the coconut shrimp for a minute, and I'm going to turn it over to Chef. Now, our coconut shrimp, when you fry it up, it does not get overly done. The coconut doesn't burn because we use an unsweetened coconut. The sweetness is put in the other underlay. And this is one product I wanted to mention specifically for this reason. I've been with Tampa Made for 15 years, and in 15 years, I've never lost a cutting. I love taking our product out. We don't always get the business. Whatever reason, may be too expensive, who knows, whatever. We don't always get the business. But when you go out there with Tampa Made product, you know people are going to love what they get, it's just a great thing, because I've worked for companies where that isn't the case. The one little tick in that might be coconut shrimp for this reason. There are some other coconut shrimps out there that are not very good. The shrimp is soft, it's mushy, it's overly pumped, and we don't do that. But what some people do with their coconut shrimp is they put about 4 pounds of sugar in there. It is so sweet, it's almost like candy. And sometimes people like that. I don't know why, but I just wanted to make you aware that sometimes you will run into some exceptionally sweet stuff, and some people like that, and it just is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. The shrimp's not going to be as good underneath the breading because nobody puts out shrimp with less pump than we do. What we do is proprietary. I don't know the number. What I like to say is we give it a quick dip. Most other people give it a long soak. And the reason why shrimp is treated, and it's sodium tripolyphosphate. You're going to find that on every ingredient statement, something along those lines. And it's always going to be the last listed ingredient. And the reason shrimp is treated is shrimp's 85% water. If you don't treat it, it's going to begin to degrade right away, and you're not going to be able to process it properly. But shrimp's 85% water. If you put it in a very heavy sodium tripolyphosphate solution and let it sit there, what's it going to do? It's going to pump up. Okay, shrimp sold by weight, so a lot of people like to do that. But what the sodium tripolyphosphate does, it affects shrimp flesh and fish flesh the same way. It softens it, takes away the texture. It'll give you some odd flavors like a chemical, off, old, salty taste. You will run into all those things as you start doing shrimp cuttings out there. And the other thing it can do is this. You can fry the shrimp properly and you'll bite into it and it won't look done because the flesh is remaining translucent. There was one shrimp I used to cut against all the time, I can't find it anymore, that looked great before you fried it. It was really cheap. And the first time I saw it, I thought, oh God, I'm in trouble here. And then I looked at the instructions on the back and it said deep fry for 5 minutes. And I knew I was good. What shrimp needs to be deep fried for 5 minutes? Unless it's overly pumped and you want to make sure that translucence goes away. So that's what it was. And when it fried up for 5 minutes, it was half the size it was when it went into the fryer. When you do a cutting and you're going out there and you're going against other people, a couple things you need to do when you do a cutting. Do not have cocktail sauce there. Do not have tartar sauce there. Don't have any sauce there at all. You want people to taste shrimp. That's point number one. Point number two, and I cannot emphasize this enough, always try the other guy's shrimp first. What happens is our brain, our tongue, our mouth, our taste buds, it's really an amazing thing that we take for granted, okay? What happens is if you eat a superior product, ours, first, that's all remembered in here, and an inferior product, some of the deficiencies are masked by that memory. Whereas if you eat an inferior product first, the deficiencies are magnified when you try the better product. So when you're doing a cutting, you have to do it side by side, no sauces there, eat the other guys first. It doesn't have to be a blind cutting. In fact, I tell them right up front, this is what you're using, and here's ours. That's where you're going to start seeing that old, off, chemical, funky taste. There's some fishy taste sometimes. I don't know what other people are doing. I only know what we're doing. We don't pump our product, and you're going to have great stuff. So I wanted to make sure that you understand that. I'm going to turn it back over to Chef here, and he's going to go over another product group, and then we're going to do one last product group, and then we'll get to questions and answers. Okay? Well, hopefully answers. I'll make some up.
Thanks, Mike. All right, the next couple plates we did for you today are utilizing some of the coconut shrimp items, and then also their cauliflower. We did a fried cauliflower, and I tossed it in Ken's buffalo wing sauce, and then I served it with a Ken's blue cheese dressing. Awesome flavor profile, excuse me. Did a little bit of crumbled blue cheese. Great little appetizers. I've been seeing cauliflower on so many more, popping up on so many more menus out there, and great way to present it. Looks pretty cool and something a little bit different. It doesn't just have to be the buffalo wing sauce. You could use actually the garlic parm sauce would be nice with it too, but just a little different variation of just the fried cauliflower. It is fantastic all by itself, but I wanted to do a little bit of a menu variation for it. So utilizing some of the coconut shrimp, the tail-on ones. This is actually Mike's famous coconut shrimp dipping sauce. It's his pina colada sauce. So I can't take any credit. He's laughing right now because he was trying to explain the sauce to me, and he just sent it to me in an email, and I go, huh? And I go, okay, well, it makes me kind of want to have a cocktail and be on a beach right now, but it is phenomenal. It works out perfect with these shrimp. So the mixture literally is sour cream and a pina colada. Basically, you want it just to be decently loose. You don't want it to be too thick for them to dip it in, but it's a little bit of a sweeter dip, but phenomenal flavor profile with the shrimp. So we just did it as a dinner plate there with some mixed veg. Once again, our Kent Precision wild rice blend, and then Mike Sculati's famous pina colada dipping sauce. So the next item we just utilized the popcorn coconut shrimp. Same sauce, just did it kind of as a basket or a platter. And then we got the Coco Loco salad. So we did some popcorn coconut shrimp. We used Mike Sculati's famous pina colada sauce as a dressing. I just tossed the mixed greens in there, added some mandarin oranges, some pineapple, a little bit of red onion and tomato. Phenomenal salad. That's about 4 ounces of popcorn shrimp, but pretty cool presentation, kind of Floridian, if you will. And then next, Mike's going to get into the next category, which is going to be very exciting for all of us, just because it plays right into where we're at with the industry right now, and it's a perfect fit. So, Mike.
Thank you, Chef. Tampa made, we're not a really big company. In the food service business, actually, we're a pretty small company. And it's amazing the size of our R&D group. We've got, I think it's 6 people on our R&D department down there. And they pay attention to the trends and the things that are going on. And one of the things everybody is looking for is longer hold time. Tampa Made is answering that. We're coming out with what we call crunch keepers. Now, what this is, it's imperceptible in look and in taste, but we are taking some of our normal everyday items. We are upgrading the coating into what's called the crunch keeper. These are our panko items. These products will hold 30 minutes, no problem, okay? We have a few items that'll be part of the category. One, and this first one I really want to show you. This is what we call our Americana shrimp. It's under our Mariner Jack category. What this is, there's several things that are important about this. First of all, this is a round. You know, I mentioned round earlier. This is a round. Secondly, the tail is breaded. The reason the tail is breaded, we are actually running these products at Tampa Made. So they are a machine run so that the tail is breaded. These are incredibly, what a value item this is. This is a 1620 Americana Crunch Keeper dinner shrimp. The cost on this, I took our FOB cost, added freight, added 20%. This is 26 cents. 26 cents for a 1620 round dinner shrimp. You would not believe how well this eats. It's really amazing. And this is going to be under the Crunch Keeper category, okay? So that's one item that's going to be under Crunch Keeper. We have another item. This is our fried green tomato halves. I actually like the fried green tomato halves better than I like the whole fried green tomato for this reason. What we do is we take a whole fried green tomato, we have it cut in half, okay? If you have a whole one, no matter what you do, this little bit in the center is always a little bit soft to me. I love these because they stay crunchy all the way around. And this is now going to be under the Crunch Keeper with the halves. I don't think we're going to be able to do it with the whole ones because it's got cornmeal in it as opposed to panko, so I don't think we're going to be able to do that. This is really a great item. And by the way, on the fried green tomatoes, it's an interesting process. The tomatoes are picked, processed to us, processed, frozen within a 24-hour period. It's really amazing. Most of them are grown about 10 miles from our facility. So those are two items under the Crunch Keeper. The third one is our panko pickle chips. This is, again, along with the flour dusted chip, one of our original items. This is also in my top 10 selling items. This is now going to be Crunch Keeper, okay? So it will hold for 30 minutes. Talk about great for carryout. How many pizza places are looking for something to take along? Pizza, every one of them. Here you go, right here, okay? This is our Italian flavored calamari. Now, our regular dipped and dusted calamari rings and tentacles, rings, those are not flavored in the breading profile. That was done deliberately when we came out with them because our thought was we're going to be going to a lot of places that make calamari themselves and they don't season the batter before they put it on. That's why that was not done. There are people that do want an Italian seasoning calamari. We have one. It blows away. Our biggest competitor is King and Prince, Mrs. Friday's, or Italian calamari. Stuff's about this big around, looks like a donut.
It's a rubber band.
It's a rubber band, absolutely. It's just awful. This is great, and this is also going to be under the Crunch Keeper, so it's going to hold for 30 minutes. And when we're talking for holding, some people are dubious about maybe using shrimp for carry-out, things like that, because they're worried about the smell. A lot of fish will smell. Shrimp doesn't. So people don't have to worry about that. This isn't going to either, okay? So this is the Crunch Keeper category, and we are also going to be doing, and Michelle can correct me if I'm wrong on this, I believe that our regular cauliflower is also going to be under Crunch Keeper, okay? Now, I do want to talk about, and I'm almost done. I know you've been listening to me for a very long time, and I greatly appreciate it. Our Harvest Creation items. We've shown you the fried green tomato, the pickle fries, the flour dusted pickles, the bellow mushrooms, the panko pickle. There's one thing that I want to give everybody a caveat on, and I cannot emphasize this enough. whatever the frying instructions are on the box, add 30 seconds to it minimum, closer to a minute on the pickle fries and the mushrooms. You're better off to fry it a little longer than exactly the time or under, because if it's fried a little longer, it'll be crisper and it'll hold better, okay? Yeah, and the tomatoes too, absolutely, yes. All the Harvest Creation items, fry them a little bit longer, they'll hold better, they'll be crunchier, and they'll look better. I think that's it. Question and answer time. Chef, thank you, fabulous job. And for everybody who doesn't know this, Mark Savoy has been standing here holding his iPad the whole time. Thank you, Mark. It's tough. Hour and a half so far. Okay, I'm assuming we're going to be at questions and answers. If there are any, I'll try and answer them for you.
Tom, do you have any comments before I open it up for questions?
Yeah, if we could, Beth, if we could just take a minute or two here. Taylor Crown, our president of Acosta Food Service, has been sitting in and watching the training meeting here, and I think he has a few comments that he would like to share before we get into the Q&A. Taylor?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. And Mike, we'll get back to the Q&A just in a minute. But you know, in my role, my daughter said to me recently, she thought my primary qualification for this job was the ability to speak in front of people. So lucky for me, maybe I found a job where that's what I get to do. But wanted to just say a few comments, and you know, first starting with thanking you, Mike. I mean, it's not a wonder that that our folks consistently rate you among the best, if not the best trainer on behalf of all of our clients. I mean, I think we just experienced really a mastery level, you know, display of what it means to be at the top of your game, to really not just understand the product deeply and the competitive set and the nature, but also what's going on in the industry from a trend, from a historical, but also a forward-looking view, and what that all means, in addition to the true deep sense of operational needs on behalf of operators. And I say that certainly as a compliment, but I also say it to the 212 other people other than me that are on this call today, because learn from what you just experienced, or if you're watching it on the recording and so forth, because that is certainly the level that all of us at our best ought to be. That's really the point. We talk about that a lot internally, but wanted to maybe back up just for a second, and I won't take too long, but you know, this is a great moment for Tampa Made. I think it's a great moment for us at Acosta. It's a great moment for me, and I want to just describe why for a minute, because this is the kind of the relationship between us and Tampa Made, or me and Tampa Made, is a unique one. And some of y'all may not know this, some of you do, some of you may know me, some of you may not, but I have a long-standing relationship with the leader of Tampa Made sales, Michelle, you met earlier, as well as her predecessor, Lynn Grimes, for totally different reasons. That goes back decades. So Lynn, as some of you know, Lynn Grimes, Michelle's predecessor, is a Baltimore guy. I was also born and raised in Baltimore. When I was starting in this business as a teenager, I'm not quite at 51 years yet, Mike, but I hope when I do that I have your energy and all that. But nonetheless, it's close to that. It's approaching that. And Lynn was a big deal then. So when we reconnected, when we got together and I took the role at Acosta, Michelle and I know a few others were in the room, and it was, you know, I think Lynn almost thought of me as if, you know, I was his nephew or something, right? It was kind of a really unique thing. Some of you may know this, but Michelle and I were peers and worked together at a manufacturer in a past life. And if you ever happen to be together in the future state when we're all able to get together, you'll think to yourself that somehow Michelle and I must have gone to middle school together or something, because we have like that kind of relationship. And yet I tell you all that because those facts have literally nothing to do with why we're here today. Now, I want to tell you what I mean by that, okay, is when Michelle and the team approached us and basically said, hey, we have you in some markets, not other markets. We want to talk about that. We together and separately actually made a very deliberative approach of saying, this is really about the markets themselves. right? So in fact, I actually had nothing to do with the initial meetings. So much so that about a month into the conversations that were happening between the Tampa Made team and the Acosta teams, it actually occurred to me, I'm like, oh, I should make sure Michelle understands why. So I called her one day and said, hey, just so you know, like, I'm not involved, not because I'm not interested. I want to do this. And this is really cool, but it's not about me. It's about the teams, right? And Michelle getting into her new role and making sure that she was leaning into the type of leader that she wanted to make sure that Mike and the rest of the team from Tampa Made were believers as well. So I told my team, Sean and Mark and the others that are on this call, basic instructions are you have to lean into being the type of company and the type of people that Tampa Made is going to want to be with. This is a very, very big deal for manufacturers to change agencies. Doesn't always feel like that when you're on the recipient end, but it is. I promise you, it's a very big deal, and it's not entered upon lightly. And I'll tell you, from all across the country of those markets that are net new working together, those market leaders, the regional leaders, Sean and others, as well as Tampa Made, got together and really, did that hard work of saying, let's get to know each other. Let's figure out what our working styles and how we work together are. And I think this is a point that I wanted to make before, again, we get back to the Q&A. I get it, right? But reflect on that for a minute, because we are often operating in what can sometimes, maybe often, but sometimes seem like a fairly cynical business, right? Where someone maybe in my role or someone in Michelle's role, for example, kind of have these backdoor calls and these things happen. You're not sure why they happen, right? So I think this is not that. That's not how we're going to operate, right? At Acosta, we've been on a journey to be the most professional food service sales force in North America. By the way, I'll say to my team again, if you want to know what I mean by that, you just experienced in the last hour and a half, okay? So you do it in your own way. You don't have to do it like Mike. You don't have to do it like me. Do it in your own way, but think about that. So we are on that journey, and it's one thing for me to tell the story because I think I tell it pretty well, but it's a whole different thing for you all to live into it so people notice that and want to be with us as a client, which makes us stronger, makes them stronger. So again, Mike, I hope you don't mind me taking a moment here to kind of share those thoughts with this team, but I think it's important to reflect on that. This is just the beginning. You all take what you've learned. And by the way, I also want to say a couple more words. Mike mentioned the R&D. One of my, been here maybe 14 months, I could only travel the first 3, right? And one of the few trips that I made was to Lakeland, to Tampa Made, and we all went there and visited the facility. And I got to tell you, again, as I mentioned earlier, Lynn, the earlier part of the story, I've had a decades-long experience with the company, but I was absolutely blown away. I mean, you talk about companies that fight above their fighting weight. This is Tampa Made to a T. I mean, Mike mentioned the R&D. This is an innovation center and an R&D department and food scientists that are literally top quality within the industry. I don't mean seafood or shrimp or companies their size. I mean, this would blow you away what they have invested in the company and the level of professionalism. That's number one. Number two is that the types of products that they develop and sell, now we sell together in these new markets, are things that customers need and want and put on their menu every single day. And I think I also want to call out Chef Christian, who did a phenomenal job. Michelle texted me that, by the way, during the session. And I think what I love about that, Christian, I'm not surprised you're very articulate, presenting yourself well, but I think the menu concepts themselves are things that customers would actually use, right? And I say that because often in meetings like this, they're not, right? You're going, yeah, I don't know about that. But I think every one of those items, I'm like, man, I could see that on the menu. So at any rate, appreciate the time to kind of listen to me go on. But again, bright future ahead, I know, for both of us. And I know that on behalf of all of us at Acosta, we couldn't be more excited. So Beth, why don't I hand it back over to you to do the Q&A.
Thank you. The first question is, are any of the breaded items you do gluten-free?
No, not at this point. We are gluten-free certified manufacturer, but that's going into some retail co-pack right now. The demand for gluten-free at the food service side, for the most part, has not been there at a high enough volume to make it worthwhile to produce. I'm not saying it's not coming. I'm just saying we can do it. We just have not seen the right opportunity or niche to do it at this point.
Thank you. The next question is, can the dinner shrimp be added to a menu as hand breaded?
Yes, because they are hand done, so to speak. So yes, if you said hand breaded, maybe stretching it just a tad, but the dinner shrimp are all handled, all hand done at some point and hand packed. So I would have no problem with that.
The next question is, one of the operators shared that they stopped selling breaded pickle chips because it was messing up their oil with the breading. Not sure the brand. Can you share how you would approach this operator with our Tampa Made line?
Oh, absolutely. That's a great, I'm sorry, I'm laughing. That was really what made us successful in the business. Our major competitors on pickle chips are, McCain is the biggest one, Windsor and some other people. They're not used to coating wet items like we are, and gave us the competitive advantage. Our breading doesn't come off. So for that operator, what I would do, if you think it's a good enough operator, I would give them a case of our pickle chips and say, here, try this. The breading's going to stay on. You're going to be thrilled. Or if you want them to buy it, guarantee it, because the breading will stay on. And again, that's what gave us our entree into this category. We did products where the breading stayed on because we are used to coating, breading, battering wet items, which is experience most of our competitors do not have.
Thank you. The next question is, can you relay the manufacturer number for the Essential 7?
We'll get that out to you. Yes. Well, yeah. Chef says he's got all that. We will get the manufacturer numbers out on all of the Essential 7. Yes. And dot numbers too. If you don't have them, we'll get dot numbers out as well.
Thank you. Sorry I interrupted you.
No, that's all right.
Can any or all of the items be air fried?
That is something that I genuinely cannot answer. I haven't tried it.
We can do it in our comment. We can try some in our comment.
Okay,
We'll run them.
Chef said he's going to run some and try. The whole air fryer thing is much bigger on the personal at home. It really hasn't moved that far into food service yet. So our R&D department has not spent a lot of time on that. They know it's something they need to look at because we're seeing it coming at convenience stores and some other areas. But I can't answer it any better than that right now because I genuinely don't know. I think some would work well.
Yeah, we can utilize our Rationale combi ovens, which we represent too.
Right.
Air fry, we'll run some.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot and get that out. That's something we need to work on, but I can't answer it any more than that.
Thank you. The next question is, are the fried green tomatoes, breaded mushrooms, and zucchini all bakeable?
The fried green tomatoes bake exceptionally well. They take about 12 minutes. You have to flip them over halfway. I've had people tell me that they like the fried green tomatoes better baked than they do fried. The mushrooms will not bake at all. There's too much moisture in the mushroom. The batters doesn't have any cornmeal in it, so it's not going to be crisp. And I'm sorry, I've forgotten what the third item was.
The zucchini.
No, again, you've got the same problem with the zucchini. There's too much water on the internal product. By the time it bakes enough to be done, all the water is going to turn into steam, and the coating is going to be very soggy. So those will not bake. Now the pickle fries will bake very well, along with the fried green tomatoes. The panko pickle chips and the flour pickle chips I've baked, and that also will work. And they will also go through those impinger ovens that a lot of pizza places work. The pickle fries, the fried green tomatoes, the flour chips, and the panko chips will all work very well with that, particularly if they're using a pan with the holes in it. It'll go through those impinger ovens really well.
Thank you. The next question is, do you pack a vegetable variety portion?
We do not. It has been discussed, and I've worked for companies in the past that have done a variety. The problem that you run into is, say you've got 4 items in there, 3 of them people will love for whatever reason, and the 4th one they don't. So they try it once or twice, they can't use the 4th one, and they don't buy it again. We've also talked about doing a mixed bag with several different items in it, but the problem with that is sometimes the fry time's a little different. It just doesn't quite work. So at this point, we've not put together exactly would be the right way to approach that. So we have not.
The next question is, can you describe the shrimp jammers from the product list? Does Tampa May do larger commodity sized shrimps, 10 to 15 or 21 to 25?
When you talk commodity, I'm not quite, are you talking P&D or are you talking breaded? I'm not sure what's meant by commodity. I'm going to assume P&D, okay? P&D is not our sweet spot. We have a couple of salad shrimp. That's all we do with it. There are some people doing just massive amounts of P&D. We can't compete with them. The shrimp jammers, really a cool product, and I apologize. We should have had some here. That's my mistake. The shrimp jammer is really a cool product. It's hand done. It's unbelievable. We take a shrimp, butterflied, raw. Then a cheese slug is put in it. The shrimp's folded over it, and then it's battered, and it fries up just exceptionally well. And we've got 3-4 different flavors of it. Great product. Little on the expensive side, but anchor poppers are expensive too. And this way you get a protein with it. But it's really cool how it's done. Turns out real well. Frying, as soon as you start to see a little cheese ooze out, you know they're done. Okay.
The next question is, can chefs share the recipe and plate presentation ideas that were shown today? We have a number
He's got that up. Tom Smith has all that information.
We'll share the pictures next week.
And next week pictures will be going out. So all that's going to be coming out to everybody. Yes.
Yeah, the recipes have been submitted to the document library for all the Acosta people on the call. Look for those, I'd say, to be posted here in the next 24 hours on the document library. And once the pictures are sent, we'll get those posted as well.
Thank you. The next question is, what have been the best items that you have seen for grab and go and quick bite for 2nd and 3rd tier distributors?
Wow. All right. I'm going to answer this in a kind of a roundabout way. First of all, we are a great partner for 2nd and 3rd tier distributors because we have everything that they need. We're in DOT. We make great products. We support them with the coupons, the POS, the whole bit. So we are a great partner for 2nd and 3rd tier distributors to go out and try and work with them to build business. In terms of the grab and go thing, that's an area that we're still starting to learn ourselves. That's where the Crunch Keeper is going to come in handy. You're going to be able to go out there with the panko pickle chips or the Americana. If you're talking 2nd and 3rd tier distributors, those would be the people that I would hit with the Americana immediately. It's low cost, it's value, it eats great, and you don't have to worry about competing with Catman and with the US programs and the PFG programs and things like that. So that fits a dual purpose. You've got the fact that they're Crunch Keeper and they're going to have something different than their competitors. I mean, a 16-20 dinner shrimp at 26, 27 cents a piece to the operator, they're going to blow some of the big guys away. So if it were me, I would get the Americana, which comes in 3 sizes, by the way, a 16-20, a 21-25, and a 26-30. And that is what I would be hitting the independent 2nd and 3rd tier distributors with. And those items are available through DOT. So that's what I would be doing with that.
Thank you. The next question is Mariner Jack and Crunch Keeper on the Land and Sea rebate?
I have the Land and Sea rebate right over here. I can go look at it, but right off the top of my head, I can't answer that because there's a lot of items on there. So we'll get you know what we'll do? We'll get the Land and Sea promotion. It's on a 2-page PDF. We can get that sent out to everybody, okay? And that'll tell you everything that's on there.
Hey,
And
Mike,
the Land,
I can jump in. So there are several Mariner Jack items on there. on the Land and Sea promotion. And they're at $5 a case. Yes. And then there is no Crunch Keeper.
Yeah, the Crunch Keeper is so new that that's not on the Land and Sea promo yet. Thank you, Michelle.
Are Crunch Keepers ovenable or deep fry only?
I believe, and Michelle can come back with this, I believe that these are deep fry only. Would that be correct, Michelle?
Yes.
Yeah, Crunch Keeper's deep fry only.
Is the Crunch Keeper calamari all ring?
Yes. It's all ring. There'll be no tentacles in that, and it's only being done on the Italian calamari, which is only a ring. The Crunch Keeper is not going to work for our calamari rings and tentacles. It's a dipped and dusted product. There's no panko in it. There's really no way for us to do it. So the Crunch Keeper is going to be the Italian calamari only, and that is just a ring product.
Is there stocking at GFS for Crunch Keeper items?
They have not even been told about the Crunch Keeper yet at this point. I wanted to wait till we actually had some more production run of the product, and then they will be approached with the Crunch Keeper. So that's kind of where we are on that.
We know the top 7 products, but what are the top 3 for the Midwest?
The top 3 for the Midwest, and I just looked at that. And what I'm going to give you now are the top 3 street items. My number 1 selling item is actually through the Gordon Food Service Marketplace stores, okay? So my number 1 selling food service street item effective, my numbers that I got for year end, pickle fries number 1, fried green tomatoes number 2, and I think, what was number 3? It was a seafood item. It might have been a popcorn shrimp was my number 3 selling item in terms of volume. But number 1 and number 2 were the pickle fries and the fried green tomatoes. And again, and those are on the $5 a case for you. And the opportunity that we have out there on those items, we're still just scratching the surface. You can go out and make a tremendous amount of money and have a lot of fun showing it.
Thank you. The next question is, would you please tell us the difference between the basket shrimp and the popcorn shrimp again?
Okay, again, remember, they're both made with the same raw ingredient, which is called a PUD, peeled undeveined. Peeled undeveined tail off is popcorn. Peeled undeveined tail on is basket. However, that being said, there is no differentiation right now because nobody is producing a PUD tail on, which would be your basket, that we can access. There's just not a supply out there. So literally everything is going to be quote unquote a popcorn, and what people think of as a basket because it's pouched, they'll just still think of it as a basket, but it's not going to have a tail on for a while.
The next question is Crunch Keeper line available now? Why not use this process for all items as most people want crunch and so many operators now need the extra hold time?
All right, this is going to be a 3-part answer, and Michelle's going to take part, and I'll direct to her in a moment. In order to do this, there are 2 main key components for us to be able to do this. Number 1, it has to be something that we are producing in Lakeland, and keep in mind, all the dinner shrimp, because there's so much hand labor, is coming from overseas. So at this point, we are not able to make that part of Crunch Keeper. The second part of this is it has to be a panko coated product, which means for a lot of our items, we don't use panko in it. That is why we can't utilize it more. And I forget what the part was I wanted to give to Michelle, unless she's aware of some other items that may be coming. Maybe that was it.
That's okay. You did good.
Does that pretty much cover it, Michelle?
I think so. Jenny, you're on 2, right?
Yeah, I am.
Is
And
Brittany
yeah, just
So Jenny Doan is our director of marketing, and she's been a lead on the Crunch Keeper strategy.
yeah. So as Mike alluded to, it is, of course, my dog barks the minute I get on the phone. It is panko primarily, And really what we're doing, our strategy is to take a select subset of products. So those are 8 existing SKUs that we will convert, and it'll be a seamless running change conversion to the Crunch Keeper system. Okay, so while there are additional costs on our end for the Crunch Keeper system, we're not passing those along to the marketplace. We want to keep this seamless. So again, no change to product codes or anything like that. No change to pricing, and really there will be little to no taste change detectable to operators. So again, if someone, one of our items is the pickle chips, and if an operator, absolutely loves the current flavor profile of our pickle chips, that flavor profile will remain. What will be improved upon is the hold time. And as Mike alluded to, I think he said 30-minute hold time, that's like guaranteed. Our Crunch Keeper, we've done some testing and so forth in styrofoam containers and other things, but it will hold up really closer to an hour. Really, and we've got some customer testimonials that say, even the crunch holds longer than the heat. So if it's not still hot, it's still crunchy. So again, we'll be sharing the transition plan with the team. Again, it'll be a SKU at a time and a running change for the marketplace, and where we need to make a big deal out of it, we will, absolutely. But what we don't want to happen is for operators, to think that we've somehow changed the flavor profile on them. So that was kind of our criteria for picking those 8 SKUs that covers some seafood and vegetables as well. That answers.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you. 2 comments regarding the air frying. Comment from Andy Melman. Air frying will work on pre-browned but not unbrowned items. And
that makes sense.
From Scott Percopile, I have air fried the tomatoes and the shrimp jammers, and they're wonderful.
And I'm going to step in here. The first comment was right on point. The items that bake well and that will air fry are what we call par fried items. The grouper, the fried green tomato, the pickle fries, they all have a little color in the coating already. So if you try and do it with some shrimp or some of the other items that are white, when they go in there, they're not going to pick up any color at all. So, and the jammers are also par fried too. So that's why when I say par fry, they get just a quick dip in a hot oil to set the surface so that product doesn't come together and the product doesn't all stick together. That's what the par fried means. And I don't mean to take over for anybody here, but according to my watch, we're almost done. And I don't know if there's another question or two, but I do want to say a quick thing when we're done with the questions before everybody gets off. So you let me know if we're going to cover another question or two.
I have 8 questions. Tom, would you like me to read them, or do you want the report?
Well, I can if people are willing to stay on, I'll answer them one at a time. That's great. I'm good with that. I'm in no rush. I didn't know anybody else's schedule.
Yeah, let's go ahead and finish off the 8 questions that you have, Beth.
Beautiful.
Are the shrimp sized before or after breading?
The shrimp are sized after breading. That count is the finished count, okay? Because it can get very confusing. I'm not going to go into what you start with, what happens, what you work with. The size that you see on the price list is the finished count.
Thank you. Can you update your items in the K-12 market? Are there any CN labels?
We have one item that fits CN. We have a CN shrimp popper whole grain. That is the only item that we have at this point that is a CN product, that's our shrimp popper. Bakeable, and it's whole grain.
What is the best way to get samples on items?
We've got a number of different ways of getting samples. The simplest and easiest way to get samples is to pull from distribution. That saves a lot of cost from our end. The next way to do it is your office or through your sampling department can place a dot order. You know, you want to get 6, 7, 8, 10 cases, different items, you can do it through dot. If you have a situation that you deem viable enough and you talk to your Tampa Made business development manager about it, and you both agree this is something worthwhile spending the money on, we can and will air freight product directly to a customer, but it's got to be worthwhile to do so. Okay.
The next question is our dipped and dusted cauliflower pieces larger than the McCain product?
They're fairly similar sized. Yeah, everybody's using kind of the same size on the cauliflower. The McCain cauliflower is one of their items. It's not bad. I like our dipped and dusted coating better on ours. And there are some McCain items that I think are really bad. So their cauliflower is okay.
Does dipped and dusted have panko in the batter?
I can't think of a single item under dipped and dusted that has panko in it. And that's one of the things that makes it different. It's the hard red wheat flour dust. It's the batter coating. And then that exterior is, again, the hard red wheat flour dust. So there's no panko anywhere in the dipped and dusted products.
What are your top selling bakeable items?
When it comes to the top selling bakeable items, we've got a couple of things. One is the shrimp popper, the CN label product, but we also have a bakeable popcorn shrimp, and we have a bakeable 3140 dinner shrimp, okay? Now, keep in mind, because we're producing that here, the tail is breaded on it, but we sell quite a bit of it. It's a pretty good product. So that would be the top three, the bakeable popcorn, the bakeable 3140 dinner shrimp, and the shrimp popper, the CN label product, okay?
2 more questions. My PFG distributor stocks some Harvest Creations under West Creek label. Are the breading and flavor profiles the same as Tampa Made label?
Yes. This is an unusual situation. We do not private brand the Harvest Creation for anybody, which is why we are not doing breaded vegetables for Cisco or US or anybody else, because we won't private brand it. With PFG, we're doing what's called the dual label. It's their West Creek and it's the Harvest Creation. It's the exact same product, so you can be very comfortable going out with it.
The last question is 2 parts. The first one is, what is the #1 item through the GFS stores? And is this item a retail pack and available to other distribution points or GFS branded?
Oh, I love that question. The #1 selling item through the GFS stores, and it is the #1 selling seafood item at the GFS stores, is the West Bay dinner shrimp. West Bay is a control label that Tampa Made owns, and it goes only into the Gordon Food Service stores. It is not sold anywhere else. That was developed so that the Gordon Food Service stores could compete with Costco and Sam's and all those folks, but not impact the Gordon brand product that the CDSs are selling, and that's how that came about. I realize we've gone through the questions, we're about out of time, and I want to just say one quick thing here to everybody. 2021, I want you to go out, have fun, make some money, and remember, above all, being good isn't good enough anymore. People have to be better. Have fun, folks. Thanks for listening to me. This was great. This was fabulous.
Hey, Mike.
Thank you, Costa, for setting this up. I loved it.
Hey, Mike, I just wanted to say real quick before we hang up, thank you to Michelle and you, and for putting your confidence and trust in us. And I sent a note out to the team earlier today that I want to see a lot of thousands and thousands of dollars off that broker promotion. You guys are best in class, and I use Kentucky because we've worked together in Kentucky obviously already, and they made over $4,000 just for Q3 in the middle of a pandemic. So the money's out there, people.
Crazy.
Yeah, think about that. In a pandemic in Kentucky, the team made $4,000.
Yep. So please utilize Mike, utilize Joyce, who I know Michelle's probably going to say something real quick. Utilize Kelly. We've got Chris Fabry, who used to work at Core Group in Illinois. We've got the Kentucky team. Our new Cam in Ohio, Northern Ohio, Joe Arico, who's on right now.
Joe's on?
Yeah, Joe's on, Mike. So he's definitely worked with Tampa Made before. So utilize all the resources you have, guys. So, but thank you very much for everything. And Mark and Christian, great job as usual.
Thanks, Sean.
Right. Thank you all. Sean, thanks everybody. You guys, honestly, Joyce Potagil is going to be up in the Midwest as Mike's moving into his corporate training role, and he's going to be pretty busy here, as you can tell, as imagine. And we are just extremely excited about all of this. Mike knocked it out of the park. And Christian, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Killed it. You guys.
Hey, I'm here to help everybody on training. You have some situations come up, you need training, let me know. That's what I'm here for.
Yes. Be well, everyone.
All right, thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for attending. Thanks for your time. Great job. Have a great day.
Thank you. This presentation has ended. You may now disconnect.